The U.S. Trump administration has released a long-awaited list of tariff rates for countries across the world, including Taiwan. Most goods from the country will be tariffed at 20% starting next week, a higher rate than some other Asian countries. But President Lai Ching-te says that's only temporary and that Taiwan and the U.S. will soon announce a broader trade deal with lower tariffs. For more on this, we go to reporter Gorin joining us live from our Taipei newsroom. Chris, how exactly will these tariffs work?
Well, for most Taiwanese exports, it's fairly simple, 20% across the board, at least for those exports being levied under a law known as IEEPA. Now, that law gives the U.S. president the authority to change economic policies towards foreign countries in a declared emergency. As a reminder, when the Trump administration came out with their so-called Liberation Day tariffs back in April, Taiwan was actually slated to receive a 32% tariff. So this 20% is a reduction of sorts. But at the same time, it's still higher than some of Taiwan's neighboring countries received, like Japan and South Korea, which are being taxed at 15%. China, on the other hand, remains one of the highest levied countries while it continues negotiations with the U.S. Now, this executive order came out after markets closed on Thursday in the U.S., but here in Asia, markets across the region were down today, including Taiwan's TAIEX, which closed just below about 0.5%. Now, President Lai Ching-te and several other Taiwanese officials held a press conference today about the tariff announcement, and here's a little bit of what they had to say.
我们最终的目标是既争取对等关税能够到合理，然后对台湾最有利，同时也争取232的关税对台湾的 ICT 产业还有电子零组件产业不至于造成冲击。
Now, Taiwan's cabinet yesterday said that they had reached a consensus with the U.S. on the technical details of a trade deal, but they did not release the details of that to the public.
And Chris, why didn't they provide more information?
Well, that's what a lot of people were wondering. At the time, they said that they were preparing to have a joint statement with the U.S. about the progress of the talks. But President Lai now says, as you saw in that clip, that it all has to do with these Section 232 deals. Now, most of Taiwan's most valuable exports, like semiconductors, smartphones, computers, until now have actually been exempt from tariffs. But those same products, including semiconductors, could receive special tariffs under this Section 232 law. Now, that is pending an investigation from the U.S. Commerce Department, and that investigation is expected to wrap up as soon as 2 weeks from now. And we don't know how high those tariffs might be. But Lai now says that the 20% tariff and the Section 232 tariffs both need to be made public before Taiwan can release the details of its trade deal with the U.S. Now, there's so much about this trade deal that we still don't know, but I did speak to one local economist today and asked him what he thinks are the key points for Taiwan as negotiations move forward.
The first one is we have to liberalize our market. As a result, some domestic-oriented industry in Taiwan will be affected. So this is we have to consider how to give them some relief program, the first one. Second one is our export to the U.S. because if we face a higher tariff, for example, still remain at 20%, higher than most of the Taiwanese competitors. I think that will hinder our export capacity in the U.S. So that is another thing we have to watch.
Now, Trump's executive order does say that these tariffs can be reduced for countries that make a deal with the U.S. And if a deal is as close to being done as President Lai says it is, a change could be just around the corner.
Thanks, Chris. That was our reporter Gorin live from our Taipei newsroom.